My mom used to hide the rent money in Band-Aid boxes so that my dad wouldn't blow it all on liquor. He was a big guy and he had big hands, and he'd use those hands to hit her with. And that's my earliest memory. That's my very first memory, is my dad hitting my mom. I know that's dark. And I know you did not sign up for that when you clicked on this video. I know you need help with your grief. I'm gonna give you help. I've got provisions, but in order for you to really accept these provisions, you gotta know the backstory behind it. This is how this works. My provisions are useless without the story behind them. But once you know the story, the provisions I give you will make sense, be clear, and they will actually work for you. Life is a perfect tapestry of divine perfection. Life is a perfect kaleidoscope, and every single moving piece serves the whole. Stay with me. You'll see what I mean. So my childhood was very chaotic and very traumatic. My mother was an amazing mother. She was the best mother. She is the best mother. My brother is amazing. I had some really great slices of life and light in my childhood, but a lot of the adults in my life were very chaotic. There was lots of pain in my childhood, lots of chaos, lots of trauma. My uncle was the closest thing I had to a dad. Uncle Jimmy. He was lovely and lovable and goofy, but he was also an unstable, unpredictable, angry gambling addict who eventually died from his addiction to painkillers. My grandmother, I only met her once. She's a sociopath who will likely die in a trailer park from a drug overdose. My stepfather, he was an alcoholic. He's amazing. He got sober, but he was an alcoholic while I lived at home, and he didn't get sober till I left. So my childhood was very dark and unpredictable, and there was a darkness in me, and my inner state was really dark, and there was an edge to my life. I didn't realize there was an edge to my life. I didn't realize it was dark in here. Fish don't know that they're swimming in water, especially when you're a kid. Then I turned 13 years old, and my mom and my stepdad got pregnant with my little sister. And on December 14th, 1999, my sister was born. Hope was born. Sunshine was born. My best friend was born. My soulmate was born. The promise of my future as a kooky, child-free aunt to my nieces and nephews was born. A whole new life for me was born. The sunrise came into my life, and that darkness that was in me, it softened, and I softened. She was the kindest person I've ever met in my life, will ever meet in my life. And every single person, I've never seen anything like this, but every single person I've ever met, my sister, loved her, like fell in love with her, capital L love. She wasn't likable, she was lovable. She never said a single bad thing about a person in her life except for Donald Trump. She was the opposite of me in every way. She loved roller coasters. She loved skydiving. We went skydiving once and I puked and she loved it. She loved going on adventures. She loved laughing. Her laugh. Life is a perfect kaleidoscope, and her laugh is proof to me that life is a perfect kaleidoscope.
Oh my God. Not funny.
That laugh, her laugh, is now a part of my being. It didn't exist before she was born, and now it's forever part of me. It's part of who I am. Life is a perfect kaleidoscope. The tapestry of life is divine. It's perfection. So in 2016, I developed autoimmune issues, and I got sick with lupus. And I had this YouTube channel, and it had over 450,000 subscribers at the time. And God told me to stop doing YouTube. And it made no sense, 0 sense. But I listened. And then over the next 9 or so years, 8 or 9 years, God held my hand and took me on this unusual path that I did not plan. I studied a lot of sacred scripture. I was drawn to sacred scripture, and I was also drawn to different spiritual teachers that were just falling into my lap. I just kept learning different modalities. I collected a bunch of wisdom and courses and certifications that I had no idea what I was going to do with any of this stuff. I'm not going to share all of them because it would just bog the video down. In 2022, I got guidance to go to a psychic mediumship training with Suzanne Giesemann. I had no idea why. I've got no ambitions to be a psychic medium. I've always been intuitive. I've always felt like an alien, but I'm not going to be a psychic medium. So I got a little fender bender, and my insurance covered a rental, and the rental had no mileage limitations. And God told me to go to Sedona to Suzanne Giesemann's workshop, which was happening literally that weekend. Perfect timing. So I went, and it was all about how to converse with loved ones across the veil. No idea why I was taking it. No idea how it would serve me. Beginning of 2023, I began binging on near-death experience videos. I couldn't stop watching these. Could not stop watching these. My Kindle's filled with books from near-death experience authors. I couldn't stop reading this stuff, watching it. I was thinking, what's going on? Why am I studying this stuff? August 30th, 2023, 8 in the morning, my mom calls me screaming, crying. My sister had passed away. We have no idea what happened. The coroner has no idea what happened still to this day. It was like the earth unzipped itself and just fell. I fell right through it. I know that you know exactly what I'm talking about because you're watching this video. So there's a bottomless pit of sadness and grief and fear and anxiety and despair. And it was so painful. And it is still so painful. I'm still grieving right now. I'm going to be honest with you. Grief is grief. It doesn't matter what you know, and it doesn't matter where you are in your spiritual journey. There's no getting around the trauma of a loss like this. But I was given a very clear set of tools the past 8 years that got me through this time. And it was made clear to me that all of the things that I learned over the past 8 years were not just aimless wandering. Now here's the part where I'm going to give you the provisions. The things that I believe were given to me as provisions for the death of my sister. Number one, there's nothing I can do to take away your sadness. There's nothing I can tell you to take away your sadness. There's nothing to do about the sadness. I'm going to be sad for the rest of my life about my sister not being here. This month will be my first birthday without her, you know? There's nothing to be done about the sadness. Number two, your loved one is not a body and you are not a body. This is where faith comes in. We all know that we are not bodies. You know you're not a body. You know your loved one's not a body. I think most of us know that at this point. What you love about your loved one isn't their body. It's the essence. It's their soul. There's no death to that part. There's no death to that part. Number three, we have to go from knowing we're not just bodies to actually trusting in faith that we're not just bodies. And we can actually go into experiencing that. You're not just your body. You're not just your body. And when you experience that, you're not just your body. You experience the fact that your loved one is not just a body. They're still here with you. Number four, this is going to get into territory that people will argue with. But your loved one is still here. There is no death. There is no death. Some people think this is unrealistic. This is spiritual bypassing. This is whatever you want to call it. But for me, this is a direct experiential knowing that there's no death. You can know that there's no death. You can know it directly that there's no death. You can know it when you sit down to meditate long enough. You can understand what I mean. Your mind wants answers. Your mind wants to grip for something that's stable and solid. Your mind wants something tangible to hold on to. There's nothing to hold on to in this world. And that's the part that the mind can't reconcile. And when you lose somebody in the form, it breaks your heart wide open because that part, that eternal part that was encapsulated in a body, it's like the mind can't grasp it because it's not for the mind to grasp. This isn't something you can know with your mind. You have to trust it with your soul, and you have to free fall into it. So I want to show you a picture. What do you see when you look at this picture? You, like most people, will see a dot. But what you did not see is a space all around the dot. There's space all around the dot. That space is what I'm trying to point you to here. That space is a space where we can get peace and where we can get some balm for this wound. So you are not a body. You are the space. Your loved one is not the body. They are the space. Life is not the dot. All the things that happen between your birth and your death are happening within the space. And that space is eternal. And that space is with you now. And that space is giving you life. That space, that loving presence, and that doesn't die. There's no death. That's not a great answer for the personality structure in the mind. And to be honest with you, I know these things in my soul, and I know them experientially, and a part of me doesn't give a shit. A part of me wants my sister here with me right now. I want to hug my sister. I want to cook dinner with her. I want to see her get married. I want to, help her with her kids that she did not get to have. But life is a perfect kaleidoscope. And I shared my story with you before so that you could understand that I have every reason to sit here seething in rage, out of my mind in grief, rocking back and forth. And it would be fine if I was doing that, but I'm not, because I'm telling you the truth. That life is a perfect kaleidoscope. And the tapestry of this existence, of the world, of the universe, of all of it, is divine and perfect. And this is not a belief, this is a knowing. This is a knowing. If you listen very, very quietly, very softly, during the moments of your life that you might be ignoring right now, and not with your ears. I'm not talking about with your ears. I'm talking about with every cell in your body to just listen. Listen to the symphony of this life. And I'm not talking about sounds. I'm talking about listen. Listen. You can only understand this with your soul. So listen carefully. This is not all there is. This is just a little stopping place. This is a pit stop in eternity. And we're all walking each other home, as Ram Dass says. The last thing I wanted to say is that you can still talk to them. And if you haven't gotten to Suzanne Giesemann's work, I highly recommend you get into Suzanne Giesemann's work. It has been elemental in my life, in my process, in my getting through this grief. They are still here with you, and you can, again, listen with your entire being. And it's not like you're going to necessarily hear them with your ears, but you can sense them. You can feel them with you. You can dream about them. You can have conversations with them. You can talk to your loved one. If you think I'm crazy, I don't give a shit. But if you think I'm crazy, what I'll say to you is, it doesn't hurt anyway to talk to your loved one. You can start to feel them around. You can start to sense them. You can maybe start to smell them. You can maybe start to get images of them. So keep your eyes peeled. Keep your senses open. That's not something a lot of people will agree with. And again, I don't give a shit, because that's important for you to know. At this point in time, it's more unhealthy for people to deny the fact that there's an afterlife. I think at this point in time, you can believe whatever you want to believe, and I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm just saying there's more to this whole thing than meets the eye, and your loved one is still around if you want to talk to them. So that's what I had to share with you today about grief. That's my story. Those are some provisions for you. And there are strangers that are praying for you and that care so much about you. So may you be free from suffering. May you know the peace of God in your heart. Please share your provisions below. Please share what's helped you in your grieving process. Please share the paradigms that you adopt, the beliefs that you hold, the stories that you're telling yourself. Just how are you getting through it? I'd love to hear. Okay, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Bye.